Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has announced a federal royal commission into the Bondi Beach mass shooting last month that left 15 people dead. This is the nation's most powerful form of independent inquiry. Mr. Albanese's decision comes as he is facing mounting public demands for answers. Roger Maynard filed this report for CNA from Sydney.
Today's announcement was a massive backflip by the Australian Prime Minister, who'd been under mounting pressure to hold a royal commission into last month's Bondi Beach massacre. Anthony Albanese and members of his cabinet had spent several weeks rebuffing calls for a full federal inquiry on the grounds it would take too long and would provide a platform for anti-Semitic hate. In the end, he was forced to give in. The Prime Minister admitted that he'd taken the time to reflect and to meet with leaders of the Jewish community. More importantly, he added he'd met with many of the families of victims and survivors of what he called this horrific attack.
Of course, a Royal Commission is not the beginning or the end of what Australia must do to eradicate anti-Semitism or protect ourselves from terrorism or strengthen our social cohesion. That's an ongoing national effort for all of us as individuals, but also institutions. Because an attack on Jewish Australians is an attack on all Australians.
Apart from pressure from the Jewish community, many Australian business leaders and even prominent sporting figures had argued for the inquiry. In the end, the pressure became simply overwhelming, even, some would suggest, threatening Mr. Albanese's political future. So what will be the main thrust of this inquiry? Well, the Prime Minister explained it would address 4 key elements, including the nature and prevalence of anti-Semitism in Australia, the circumstances surrounding the attack in which 15 Jewish people were shot dead and many more injured, and how to strengthen social cohesion and counter the spread of ideological and religiously motivated extremism. Clearly, there were growing calls for some kind of accountability after such a major act of terrorism. The Bondi massacre has left Australia in a state of shock that such an horrific attack should happen on these shores. Rightly or wrongly, many have blamed a growing swell of anti-Semitism in Australia in the wake of the war in Gaza for this latest outrage. And some are also pointing the finger at security and intelligence agencies here for not recognising the threat posed by supporters of ISIS, who the two gunmen are alleged to have represented. The Royal Commission will be led by former High Court Judge Virginia Bell, though not everybody is happy with her appointment. The decision has been criticised by former Coalition Treasurer Josh Frydenberg, who said it was unthinkable the Prime Minister would choose someone who did not have the total support of the Jewish community. But in the end, it's the decision to go ahead with the Royal Commission that many Australians will welcome. The Prime Minister insisted that the inquiry would not be a drawn-out process, with the government expecting the findings by the end of this year. There will also be an interim report by April, which will look at security and intelligence considerations. In the final analysis, Mr. Albanese said the Royal Commission was the right format, the right duration and the right terms of reference to deliver the right outcome for national unity and Australia's national security. Meanwhile, Parliament is expected to be recalled later this month to debate issues such as gun control, hate speech laws and more powers for the authorities to cancel or refuse visas to visitors or migrants who are suspected of promoting violence. These are considerations that will dominate much of the year ahead as Australia attempts to address a new era of uncertainty in a rapidly expanding multicultural society. Roger Maynard, CNA, Sydney.